you. Good morning.
Morning, good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning, good morning to you. You, good morning, good morning, good morning to you. You, good morning. Good morning to you. And many more, and many more, and many more. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host today, Shantae Charles. Let me know where you are signing in from if you would. It can be a state. We don't want to give too much of your location away, but you can tell us what state you are signing in from. Whenever you hear this broadcast, I want to thank you for the live viewers and I also want to thank you for our replay community. It is because of you all that we have moved to over 1,000 subscribers now. So I do want to thank you for that. Also, one of the things we're encouraging people to do to increase our watch hours here on the platform is to check out one of our playlists. Watch that playlist. Tell us what you think about it. Um, Write something in the comments to let us know that, hey, I'm here, I'm watching, I've been checking out the past playlists that have to do with Daring Dialogues. We've got some really, really good discussions that have been preserved in our archives here on YouTube. So check those things out if you're just joining us for the first time. It will also give you a good idea of the kinds of topics that we cover here on a regular basis. I do want to say that it is Relationship Wednesday. It is Relationship Wednesday. And with that being said, I on Monday we were not on because I was celebrating my husband's birthday and showing him the kindness and the honor that he so richly deserves on that day. And then we have had some of our elders have some health issues, and we're going to be serving and helping our elders into the rest of this week in through to the holiday. And I just want to say, if you have elders that live nearby, if you have elders in your life, go see them, take care of them, do what you can to honor your living relatives, honor your living elders. Sometimes I see where people expend a lot of time externally worried about other people's lives and they're not paying attention to their own family members or they're not paying attention to their own elders. And I said to myself, I don't ever want to be that person that is so wrapped up and tied up in what other people are doing that I'm not paying attention to the people that are directly involved in my life and especially my extended family. So we will probably not be on Friday because we're going to go assist that elder and help them to start their recovery process and make sure everything is set with them. So we will be on tomorrow, but Friday we will not be on, and then Monday is Labor Day. So after Thursday, and I'll repeat this on Thursday, but after Thursday, the next time you will see us will be on the Tuesday after Labor Day. I do feel very strongly about doing what I can to honor my living elders. And speaking of which, as we get into today's topics, I got a call from, well, not a call from, but I was able to communicate and connect with my parent. And for those of you who have been following me for a while now or for some years, you know that my relationship with my maternal parent has been strained because of her health issues, mental health issues, and those kinds of things. So it was good for me to be able to hear from my parent this week. And it ties, I believe it ties right into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. So, from the first book we're looking at, Set Boundaries and Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Dr. Nedra Glover Tawwab. We're looking at the section entitled Upholding Boundaries. And then in the next book, we're going to be back in that discussion about troubleshooting relationships with parents and talking about problems with your parents now that you are the grown up. Upholding boundaries. When we want people to respect our boundaries, it may be necessary to repeat them. As I've said, setting a boundary is just the first step of implementing it. The other and often more challenging step is following through if someone violates it. For example, let's say you've told your mother you'd like her to call before coming over, but she shows up without any notice. I know that's a big deal in a lot of communities, right? It's important to stick to your boundary by issuing a consequence. If you don't honor it by allowing your mother to violate it, she'll continue with the violation and you'll likely feel resentful. I know you're probably thinking, but it's my mother. I can't issue consequences with my mother. Yes, you can. You always have options with your boundaries, even if those options make you feel uncomfortable. You can respectfully issue a boundary. Perhaps you don't want to pretend that you're not home, but what if you open the door and said something like, Mom, I was clear about wanting you to call before coming. I'm not prepared for guests. Do you want to set up another time that's more convenient for us to hang out? If you don't uphold your boundaries, others will not either. You can't tell a friend, I need you to stick to our drink maximum of 3 drinks tonight, if you then proceed to have 5 drinks. In that case, you aren't modeling what you requested. Exhibit the boundaries you wish to see in your world. Another way to uphold your boundaries is to say no more often. Recognize that saying no to others is saying yes to yourself. Set a limit by saying no when you cannot honor a request, don't want to honor a request, or doing so will infringe on the time you have for yourself to enjoy. If you said no and people aren't listening, tell them to stop asking. That's right. Tell them to stop. Remember that people keep asking because they are trying to get you to eventually say yes. Also, make sure you're not leading people on by saying things like maybe or I'll see, neither of which of these means no. If you're clear you don't want to do something, say stop when people continue to ask after you've told them no. Consider this. When you engage in activities that you don't enjoy, you are taking time away from yourself. When you get distracted with other people's stuff, you take time away from yourself. When you spend time that you don't have to spare, you take time away from your goals and developing yourself. So, here are some ways that saying yes to yourself, what it may look like. Foregoing an extra hour of television when you know you need to get up early in the morning. That's saying yes to yourself. Staying hydrated, drinking water, or drinking your favorite beverage and minding your business. Saying no to invitations you don't wish to honor. Adhering to a monthly budget. Taking regular breaks and not working yourself to the bone. Going on affordable vacations. Because we do know that going on vacations that you don't have the money for, right, is add stress. That's not helpful. All right? Allowing yourself to feel your feelings without judging them as good or bad. A lot of times I hear people saying, I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel mad. I don't want to feel depressed. I don't want to feel upset. But they're just feelings. You don't have to judge them as good or as bad. Your feelings are what they are, right? We want to learn how to manage our feelings versus judging ourselves for the feelings that we have. Setting a do not disturb on your phone after 8 p.m. I think my do not disturb is set for 10:30, something like that, because that's pretty much the time that I'm winding down. But most people are not calling me after 9 o'clock. If someone calls me after 9 o'clock, it's something is an emergency or something is going on that I need to pay attention to. So I think that is a boundary that I already have. Um, so think about when is your cutoff time for people to not communicate with you at night? I know some of us have our phones going, right? We have social media still open, and sometimes people may DM you, but when it comes to like phone calls and emails, do you have a cutoff point? I know a couple of my friends have, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's at the edge of my brain, but I can't say uninstalled. That's right. A couple of my friends have uninstalled the messenger part of Facebook from their phones because they say, I only want to look at the messenger when I log on to a computer. I don't necessarily want people to have access to me 24/7 through Messenger. So they've uninstalled the app, and they said that works for them because if the Messenger is on their phone, they feel like anytime they see a notification come up, they would stop to check it, and it was interrupting the flow of everything else that they had to do for the day. So that might be your way of holding a boundary for yourself, that nobody has 24/7 access to you to get a message to you at all times of the night. Here are some other ways of saying yes to yourself. Taking care of your physical health by going to the doctor and taking medication as prescribed. Now, I would say I am very thankful that I do not have to take any prescribed medication. I know a lot of people my age, I am past the age of 45. I know a lot of people my age that are on medications or they're on several medications. Right now, I take vitamins and I take a probiotic, and I'm very thankful that that's all I have to take. But definitely going to the doctor, I make sure I do my yearly physical. I make sure I do my allotted things for female care on a yearly basis. And again, I understand that that is a privilege right now because a lot of people don't have affordable health care. Unfortunately, more people are not going to have affordable health care come next year. And so, doing things like taking care of your physical health if you can and to the best of your ability, going to the doctor. If your doctor says, hey, you need to have a physical yearly, you need to take certain exams yearly. Women, you need to be doing your mammogram. I've got one scheduled in a couple weeks myself. Doing those things to regularly take care of yourself is saying yes to yourself. Taking care of your mental health by going to therapy. I know some people that do a mix of therapy. Some people do therapy, some people do therapy and coaching. Some people say, hey, I do therapy, but I also, rely on my spiritual community and my spiritual leaders. So they're pairing that together. Think about the ways in which you can increase and you can maintain your mental health. I know one thing right now, a lot of people are saying, I have to cut out the amount of news that I'm watching because all I'm seeing is the worst of the worst, or I'm seeing some kind of crime or a shooting or any of that stuff, and it feels hopeless and it feels helpless. And one of the things I tell people is I prefer to read the news. If I read the news, I can sort of separate a little bit of where somebody is interjecting their bias into the writing versus what are the actual facts. So I prefer to read my news. When I see clips of news come across my timeline, I typically don't tune into them because I know that a lot of times that is for entertainment, especially if it's like a panel of people, chances are they have probably added somebody to the mix that is a provocateur or somebody that's far right, and you know that they're going to say something that is inflammatory, that is incorrect, that is ahistorical, that is alternative facts. And so, for me to shut that kind of stuff off so that my blood pressure doesn't go up, I say, give me an article. I'll read the article. I can summarize the article. And a lot of times I will share those summaries on my Facebook page, Black Table Talk. Um, and so that's one way that you can sort of cut down on the kind of things that you're intaking that's affecting your health and your mental health. Here's another one: resting when your body needs it. Resting when your body needs it. I'll never forget recently, earlier this year, working really, really hard. I think she had two jobs or something like that. And she kept telling her friends, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I just need a day. I'm going to go to sleep. And I just need a day. I'm really tired. And she went to sleep and she didn't get back up. Or younger. Rest when your body needs it is a way you can say yes to yourself. Um, and the reality is, because of the society we live in now, a lot of people are not going to say, hey, I think you should get some rest. You're not going to really hear that right now because a lot of people are into this grind, grind, grind culture. And if you're not grinding, then you're lazy. Or if you're not grinding, then something's wrong with you. A lot of people are into, I'm about getting to the bag. So you're not going to have somebody, for the most part, that's saying, hey, I think you need to rest. I think you need to slow down. I think you're running yourself ragged. Unless you have people that are in, your direct vicinity that are living with you and maybe see how much you are going, you're going to have to begin to gauge that for yourself. If you feel like you're exhausted, you're going to have to take the time to rest and to reset and revitalize yourself. Because in this climate, very few people are saying you need to do that. It's actually quite the opposite. Reading for pleasure, not with the intent to learn or grow a new skill. Finding healthy ways to manage your emotions and maintaining good financial habits like paying bills on time, not racking up debt from buying things you don't need, or things that can wait until you can truly afford them. These are all ways to say yes to yourself. All right, let's move to our second book. Again, this is Drama Free, a guide to maintaining healthy family relationships. Now, as I was discussing at the top of this broadcast, I finally got a chance to communicate with my mother. The last time that I communicated with my mother was about let me see, 15 months ago. 15 months ago. Now, again, if you have parents that you communicate with, that you're able to talk to, that you have a good relationship with, cherish it. In this world and in this life, to have healthy relationships with your parents is a gift. Now, I don't have a bad relationship with my mother, but my mother has mental health issues. And with her mental health issues, she has chosen to separate her life from everyone else, including my other siblings. Um, so hearing from her and being able to talk with her, I was only able to talk with her for about 10 minutes, but in that time, I was able to ask her how she was doing, ask her if she was well, ask her, was she staying safe, ask asked her, was she being harmed by anybody? And I got a chance to say, hey, I love you. Take care of yourself. I want you to be well. I know that this is where you've chosen to be at this time, but know that we are here. Here's my number. Here's my address. And our conversation ended. And I say that because I don't want people to think when they hear me talk about these topics that I'm not working through my own issues with my own family. My father is deceased, but we had a really good relationship before he passed away through a sudden illness. And so these issues, when we talk about talking about problems, I'm also thinking about the people like myself who are in relationships with their family members, with their parents, that maybe you don't have this extended time, or maybe you don't have the extended connection to troubleshoot through some of these issues that she's talking about in this book. What do you do when your family is estranged? What do you do when you're estranged from your parents? And I do believe she's going to talk about that some more. But I also know that if your relationship with your parent is estranged, there's only so much of a window of time that you have. And so, one thing that I've learned to do is I've learned to, when I reconnect with my parents, I've learned to have some questions ready, have some statements ready, so that regardless of how much time I have with her or with your parent, right, you can at least get in what you need to ask, and then you can at least check in with that parent. For me, this time it was 10 minutes. The time before that, which was a year ago, it was maybe 5 minutes that I talked with her. So I have to also, when I think about it and I'm reading through these solutions and skills, I also have to say, how does this apply in my context? How can I take what I've learned and narrow it down? And how can I transfer those skills so that it works for my context? All right. So as we're reading, I don't want people to think that I have it all figured out. I don't. I don't even want you to think that the therapist has it all figured out, because she doesn't. But what she does offer us is the problems. It's hard to leave the past in the past when you're still haunted by what happened. It's harmful to constantly bring up issues from the past. Still, your parents could benefit from knowing how you feel about how they parented you. Open communication is a healthy part of any relationship, but how you communicate matters. It can be intimidating to have an overdue conversation about painful memories, but putting it off will only increase your anxiety. It's true that you can't control how they'll respond, but knowing your parents as you do, you might be able to predict their reaction. Despite whatever happened in the past, speak up if you have something new or different to say. Now, in my case, one thing I can say is the things that I wanted to address in the past with my mother, I got a chance to address them. Parenting, her, actions, behaviors. She was able to communicate with me some things, why she did some of the things that she did. We talked about her past trauma, all of those kinds of things, so that I have a better understanding of who she is as a person. And I think Dr. Tawab talks about that in this book, is understanding our people, our parents as people, and not just as the person who raised us. So I think that's a very important piece to know. Ways to express your grievances. Tell them how much you value the relationship. Then tell them what you need them to know and your expectations from sharing the information. For example, this relationship is important to me, and I need you to know that when I was younger, I felt that you were often too preoccupied to spend time with me. I know there's nothing you can do about that now, but I wanted to release it. I love you, and I have something important to say. You yelled at me when you were frustrated, and it's something that has been happening for some time now. In the future, when you yell, I will bring it to your attention and return to the conversation when things are calmer. Write your parents a letter to let them know how you feel. Letter writing is a pathway to releasing your emotions without a confrontation. You may opt to share the letter with your parents or keep it to yourself as simply an emotional release. Writing your thoughts and feelings on paper can be a cathartic process. Type them on your computer or create a note on your phone if that's easier for you. The letter should include a statement of the issues, how you were or are affected, how you feel, and the next steps that you envision. But focus on the big problem rather than tackling every single issue at once. If you decide to share your letter with your parents, determine if you want to mail it, email it, or give it to them in person. Bear in mind that they may not respond at all or in a way you find appropriate. I've even heard of some parents reading the letter and never mentioning that it was received because they aren't ready to have a conversation. If you want to ensure that your letter was seen and the contents were digested, ask them directly, when you saw my letter, what did you think about it? Talking through issues as they happen is the golden standard for communicating, but once you've cleared the air, make it a point to not bring up the problems constantly. Again, you don't have to forgive and forget, but do move forward. Whenever possible, talk about problems as they happen or soon after. Talking about issues as they happen might sound like this: you're dismissing my feelings when you say things like, it's not that bad, or I wasn't that bad as a parent. Don't call me names when you're upset. Stop playing games on your phone while I'm trying to talk to you. Talking about issues soon after they happen might sound like, yesterday while we were talking, you dismissed my feelings by saying things like, it's not that bad. Last week, when we were having a discussion, you called me a derogatory name. A few days ago, while we were talking, you kept playing with your phone and ignoring me. Many of us were led to believe that it's simply disrespectful to talk about our problems with and to our parents. As hard as it may be to do, it is worth it. You aren't under a deadline, however, so prepare yourself for tough conversations without putting them off too long. Sad to say, there's no easy or perfect time to have these conversations. Have them soon, because in the process of delaying, you will continue to suffer. Or, as your parents age and get older, you might not get to the conversation. And I know for one of my siblings, that was the case. They had a fallout with my father, and they said that they, said some really, really harsh things to him, and they never got a chance to resolve that conversation. They never got a chance to say, I'm sorry. They never got a chance to say, I didn't mean it. They never got a chance to say, I was angry at the moment. This is how I was feeling, and this is how this came out. And so I do know that that has affected them, and it's been, let's see, 15 years since our father passed. And that's not a conversation that he can take back. It's not words that he can take back. And so, my encouragement to people is, if you are having a fallout or you're having an argument or you're getting into it with your parents, try to do what you can to resolve whatever the argument or the issue was. Because, again, you never know what may happen. That might be the last conversation that you have. And I know some people, they might say, you know what? If that's the last conversation we have, oh well. And you are entitled to that thought, right? You're entitled to that feeling. But if you're like me, or some others of us who, we might get upset in the moment, but then we bring ourselves back and we say, I didn't have to say it that way, or I could have said it differently, or um, I added some things in that I should not have said. Try your best. Do your best. That's all we can ask of you, right? Do your best to make sure that you go back, resolve the issue, resolve the conversation, and try not to end on a note where if you don't see that person again, you're not going to be able to live with yourself. Make sure that you're saying things that, hey, if this is the last conversation that we have, I will be clear with myself. I'll be very clear on where I stand. I'll be clear in my conscience. I'll be clear in my mind that this is the conversation I want to end on. And I think about that all the time when I'm having conversations with people, especially difficult conversations, and I've got to address something that I felt was wrong or I know is going to cause a conflict if I say it. I do think to myself, this might be the last conversation I have with them. So, how do I want to handle it? I want to handle it in a way that I know that I've done the best that I could as the human respectful. I held my own honor. I held my own integrity in the conversation. And I don't have any regrets about how I handled a person. I know some people, as I said, some people do not care. I am not a part of the do not care crew when I talk to people because I want a clear conscience should something go down. I want to know that, hey, I handled it. I spoke what I needed to say. I did it in a way that honored my own personal values. And maybe that person still didn't receive it, but that's okay because I am clear with myself. I didn't violate my own values to tell that person off, or, as we say, if you go low, some people say, if you go low, I'm going to drag you to hell. Listen, I don't want to go to hell for anybody, figuratively or literally, right? So that's my standard. I'm not trying to drag you there because I don't want to go there. That means I have to go there to drag you, and I don't want to go. So that's just my personal standard. But the reality is, make sure that you are clear in your conversation with people that you're having. And if you've got to go to the argument realm with them, just be clear that if this is my last conversation, ask yourself, is this how I want it to end? Am I good with how this conversation went down if I don't ever see this person again? Think about it that way. All right, we are going to stop here for the reading. And then I think I sent you the link already, so you should have it. So hopefully you'll be able to add yourself and we can go right into the talk back. All right. Again, as I am waiting, these are the two books that we are reading from and we have been reading from: Set Boundaries, Find Peace, and Drama Free. Both of these are by Dr. Nedra Glover Tawab. You can find her online on all platforms, and she's an excellent therapist. And I'm really glad that she has put these works out here for people to work through. There's also a workbook for this book here, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And she also has a set of conversation cards as well, where you can do some interactive things as well. All right. So we're going to hop right into our talk back. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? You're going in and out.
I'm well. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I know yesterday we were talking about the value of parents and literacy and reading, and today we are also talking about parents, our boundaries, and handling conflicts with the adults, parents in our life that probably still see us as their little baby. And so they don't, maybe they don't want to have those adult conversations with their little baby, right? Um, so talk to me about, tell me what you think about those subjects.
Well, parenting, it's an easy job, but it's a tough job. Uh, Parenting, the parent has to adjust. I'm gonna say something I know many people are gonna disagree with, but you have to adjust to the child and their needs
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because no two children are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to tailor make your parenting skills to each individual child. Now there could be basics,
Mm-hmm.
but then after those basics, you have to customize. See, I had three. My oldest, which was a girl, was never a problem. Well, one time she was, but after that she wasn't anymore.
Okay.
She was about 2, 3 years old. Even today, grown, she's not a problem. My son, he was a problem all day, every day.
Now was he
But
a
now here's
now was he a problem in terms of behavior?
you're frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I said, was he a problem in behavior, in speech, or both?
not so much in speech,
Okay.
more like behavior.
Okay.
Uh, but now I understand what part of that problem was because it started after me and his mom separated and got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I actually took him to a child counselor, therapy counselor,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, this was her words, the problem is his mom. She wanted his mom to come in and so she could sit down and talk with her. She wouldn't do it. And what I ended up doing,
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Sorry.
and
So go
what
ahead.
I ended up doing was getting him involved in football.
Mm-hmm.
I attached to that school. You got to do good in school. His grades came up
Mm-hmm.
because he loved football. So I had to use those two things,
Mm-hmm.
his grades and football.
Okay.
See, so as I say, his grades went up, his behavioral problems went down, but later on, I allowed him to go live with his mom because his uncle, which was about a year older than him, they were pretty much like brothers. I let him go because of that,
Mm-hmm.
and I regret it
Mm.
because just about everything that I had instilled in him,
Mm-hmm.
she destroyed.
Wow.
So he ended up on drugs.
Mm.
But here's the thing: this is his testimony. He remembered what I taught him, and he said to himself, "I don't have it here." So he locked himself in a house. The guy he was working for, listen, I got this problem. I need some time off. I'm going to lock myself at home. I'm not going to come out. and his boss understood because his son went through the same thing. Now the boss supported that by coming by every Friday
Mm-hmm.
and paying him,
Wow.
even though he hadn't worked. See, now that's a strong support system.
Mm-hmm.
So he got himself off,
Mm-hmm.
but then he developed an alcohol problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then again he decided, you know what, I need help with this,
Mm-hmm.
so he did that. So that's something I instilled in him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something needs to be done. If there is an issue, take care of it. Do what you have to do. Don't look at me because once I found out he was on drugs, because I confronted him about it, I saw the symptoms, and he finally admitted, and then he asked me to help him. I told him I can't help you. This is something that you have to decide, and then you have to take action. Now, once you make up in your mind that you're going to do this, then I can help you with resources. But as far as me coming and dragging you somewhere, and you really don't want to do it, that's not going to work. See, so, but now let's go back to parenting. What we were discussing today, I gave all my children at a young age an open door. Come and talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know how you feel. Let me know what you see. Just be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask. Be respectful. I don't care how you feel. I don't care how you may dislike something that I may have said or done. Let me know, but be respectful about it. And they did that. So I opened that door, and that's just something that again that a lot of parents won't do.
You
I'm the adult.
right.
You do what I say do. You got no business talking to me. I don't want to hear your problem. You're a child. You got no problems.
I think
They
it's
have
weird.
problems.
I think it's weird.
Yeah.
I do. Because my thing is, if your child cannot talk to you, if your child cannot feel safe enough to come to you when there is some kind of issue, number one, they're going to talk to somebody. They
Mhm.
really are. Whether it's a teacher, a school counselor, or even their peers, right? They're gonna bring their problem to somebody. So if you're like, my kid is always quiet, my kid, never has issues. I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna say, oh, your child probably has the most issues. They're just not telling you. They're just not talking to you because you haven't made room and you haven't made space for that kind of communication to happen. The other part of that is you're not teaching them conflict skills, you're teaching them avoidance.
Mhm.
By virtue of the fact that they cannot come and talk to you to solve anything, you are literally teaching them avoidance. That's the skill that they're learning that's going to follow them into other scenarios, into their adulthood, you know, because a lot of young adults that I've talked to have said, I have troubles in my relationships.
You're frozen again.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it keeps
Mhm.
buffering. Everybody knew a problem was happening, but we just didn't talk about it. So now in my own relationships, I'm struggling with how to bring stuff up because that's how I grew up. I grew up where we weren't allowed to bring stuff up. We weren't allowed to say what it was, even though everybody
Mhm.
knew because they could observe and see. We were not allowed to voice what it was. And so I think that is a big issue when it comes to now that you're an adult, how do I have these conversations with my parents? Because I'm used to my parents saying, we don't talk about this or we don't bring this up. But now it's time for me to be an adult. I need to be able to come to you adult to adult, not just parent to child. And people struggle with that. But like you said,
Mhm.
if you start out at a young age, and you are given the opportunity for your children to have a conversation with you, for them to talk to you, for them to say, "Mom, Dad, this is what I see," and not take something is in my parenting. How dare you notice? I pay all the bills in this house. What you mean something is wrong with my parenting? Well, you're talking about providing. You may be a fantastic provider and a horrible parent. Uh-oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, you might be a
Mhm.
wonderful provider because again, parenting is a skill.
Mhm.
It's a skill. It's something you learn. It's a muscle that you have to exercise and get better at. It's not an end all be all. And that's why there are
Right.
some right people who have no children who have parenting skills. And then there are some people who are parents who suffer from a lack of parenting skills. Um, so, yeah, I think you brought up a really
Mhm.
good point. How early are people starting the process to where conflict doesn't look like it has to be the end of the world in your relationship with your child? And as your child gets older, how is that playing out in your relationship with them as they get older? And like you said, it does start younger. I remember the first blow up I had with my mom was when she read, notice I said first, was when she read my journal. And I was maybe 13, 14. And she read my journal. And she was reading about my escapades because I did have many escapades. We're not gonna get into that today. Um, but she was reading my escapades and she was reading how I felt about her as a parent. Cause I was laying into her in my journal, boy. Woo! And she read it and she was like, "That's how you really feel about me?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, what you want me to do? Lie? I can't lie. I wrote it.
Mhm.
I wrote it. But it was at that time that she began to open up more about her own life and the stuff that she had gone through and why she was so harsh with us, and us being me and my sister as
Mhm.
daughters. Why she was so harsh with us. And my thing was, you were so harsh with us because of your experiences that you didn't really look at us as our own people. Like you just kept thinking because of what you did as a young person that we were going to do the same things.
Mhm.
You never looked at us as what is our actual personality. Like would we even go that route? And sadly, you know, we did wind up repeating some of her mistakes because we felt like we didn't have the freedom to, you know, just be. And sometimes that parental pressure that gets put on children, it's almost like you're inadvertently forcing them to repeat your mistakes because you're doing or you're putting on the same pressures that your parents put on you that push you into the same mistakes. And so the way you stop repeating that cycle is you back up and you say, my child is their own person. What am I instilling in them that will make them not make those same choices and decisions that I made, you know. And so after we had that conversation, I stopped journaling. I stopped journaling. I mean, of course, I've turned out to be a writer now, but it made me stop journaling because I was afraid that if I continued to write or I got another journal and start writing my thoughts and feelings down, that she's gonna find that again too. So I will say for parents, if you are going to, because I felt like that was an invasion of privacy, right? If you're going to invade
Mhm.
your child's privacy, don't confront your child about invading their privacy like that. That's not a good look. If you're gonna do it, I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna go in and you're gonna read their journals and read all their thoughts and be falling out on the bed crying because you can't believe your baby did X, Y, and Z, don't then go have a conversation with them about it. Take the data and adjust. Okay? Take the data
Mhm.
and adjust. Now, if they have done some things and you're reading it and you see that they've done some self harming things, they've been contemplating, unaliving, stuff like that, then you need to start putting together a plan where you're going to start some interventions. I wouldn't off the bat tell them, "Hey, I read all your journal entries and yeah, we're going to start an intervention plan." No, because at that moment they're going to feel like you violated their privacy and they're going to shut down.
Mhm.
But what you can do with the data that you really shouldn't have been reading, but you done read it now, so what you need to do is you do need to start implementing some intervention. You need to add in some therapy, some sex education if you need to do that. If you read that your child is now sexually active and doing risky sexual behaviors, you need to start implementing the whole program for that. That's what you need to do.
Mhm.
And when they
Or you
turn
or
18, then you can tell them, "I read your journal."
or you can start a conversation like, you know what? I'm wondering, do you think I'm a good parent? And be honest, and this is an open forum.
Mm-hmm.
Be totally honest. You won't be in trouble. You can hide all the belts. We're just going to have an open dialogue. See, and then you can start telling them some of the things that you did because
Mm-hmm.
you wasn't perfect. Start telling some of the things you did, how you felt about some of the things that your parents may have done.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You already know because you read the journal,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know you know.
Mm-hmm.
See, so now you started a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
There are many things that your mom could have done, but she just came right at you.
Oh my God. And I mean, like I said, I never started another journal after that. I never did because I was like, this lady know all my business. I had names and dates and places, and I was like, I ain't doing that again. I just I felt like I couldn't talk to her about that kind of stuff after that. Like she knew that who
Hmm.
I was dating, but in terms of like details, I was like, she know too much already. She know too much already. It was embarrassing. I mean, it was my personal descriptions of stuff. So I don't know. I felt like I couldn't because I knew my mother. I knew she would be going through all of my stuff. I was like, there's no way that I'm starting a new journal
Hmm.
because my journal had a lock and key and she broke it. and read. So yeah, yeah. I think that stalled a little bit of my gift as a writer, but yeah. So parents, as I said, if you're gonna go snooping, if you're gonna go snooping, don't be confronting your child with the stuff you done snoop through. Cause still, you have to try to build some trust, and snooping does not build trust. I know that there are parents. I've seen where parents say, "Hey, my kids sneak out of the house. I got cameras outside." There are some parents now that have cameras in their children's bedrooms, all except for the bathroom. I'm like, well, if you don't have a camera in the bathroom, they're just gonna go in the bathroom because they want privacy. They want privacy. That's what they want. So be thinking about that. If you have children, be thinking about that. How far are you going? Are you allotting for privacy? Are you creating a scenario in your house where they feel like they need so much privacy that they can't tell you things? Sorry about that. That's the issue. If you're not helping navigate through these difficult moments that they're going to have as young people, if you're
Hmm.
not creating the space for them to feel safe enough to come to you, then what is actually happening in your parenting? Because the reality is the decisions that they make, especially as minors, is going to fall on you at some point. We're seeing it
Hmm.
right now in real time with a lot of these laws being changed, right, to make parents more responsible legally to what their child is doing as minors. So it behooves you to build the kind of relationship where your child is open to come to you, where your child is open to say, I'm in trouble, where your child is open to say, I messed up. There are some children that I've talked to in my years of teaching that said, oh, I can never tell my parent I messed up. My parent does not want to hear anything about you messed up. So if your child feels like I can't even tell my parents when I messed up, guess what? When they do mess up, rather than coming to you, they might come to somebody that makes their mess up permanent.
Hmm.
They might trust in a peer that makes their mess up worse. They might trust in someone that mess up they can't come back from because they went to somebody else that wasn't you, that didn't have their best interests at heart, that said, oh, you messed up? How can I take
Hmm.
advantage of this mess up?
Right.
So you
Right.
gotta you have to look at that. Final thoughts here.
Now, I'm gonna stay with the parenting. We have to realize that we're preparing these young people for adulthood.
Yep.
Everything that we discussed today is preparing them for that. We don't wait till they become adults to start teaching them about adulthood. You start young. I'm not saying that you got to teach them everything young, but you give them a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the major components is trust. Build a trust relationship.
Mm-hmm. One thing my mom did say to us, my sister and my brother and I, she said, whatever kind of trouble you get into, know that I'm always going to be your parent. I'm not going to stop being your parent just because you got in trouble. I'm not going to stop being your parent just because you made a horrible mistake. Like the time that I got police escorted home in the middle of the day from high school. Yeah. First time I'd ever gotten in that level of trouble. But, it was a bloodless crime, as they say. It was a bloodless crime. Um, but almost inciting a riot in school over words. Again, over words. And she was, number one, she was shocked that it was me being brought home from school in the middle of the day. And then number two, it was a police officer car, so she thought, something terrible, terrible had happened. And then she found out my bloodless crime, and she waved the police officer away. Waited till they pulled off. She didn't beat me. She didn't beat me, but she slapped the taste out my mouth. She did. Yeah, I still remember it. I can still taste it. And this is the big thing that you get in trouble for. You get in trouble for words, and here we are. So she still cared, right, that I had gotten into trouble, but it was one of those things like, okay, we'll go out to the school, we'll deal with what your punishment is, your consequences are. She was like, yeah, you gonna get these consequences, you gonna take them. I had indoor suspension for 30 days, and I was banned from my senior trip. And so that was what they had decided, and I was like, okay. But when the one administrator decided that they wanted to take it another level further, because she just didn't like me, I was like, I'm sorry, I tell the truth. In a way you don't like it, you know. And when that administrator tried to say, not only are you going to be banned from your senior trip, but you're also going to be banned from prom, my mama said, stop right there. Stop right there. Now, see, this is where I draw the line, because you all said that these were the consequences for what she did. All of a sudden, y'all want to keep making her. My mama said it this way: you can't punish her again for the same crime. What you're not going to do is you're not going to keep punishing her for the same thing. Now, you said this is what it is: 30 days indoor suspension and banning from the senior trip. That's what it's going to be. But as for her prom, you will not be tacking on another punishment to my child. She will be buying this prom ticket, and she will be going to prom. Now, she might not have no
Mhm.
date because of her own actions and angering everybody in her entire school, but she going to prom. And so that's what I mean by your parent saying and advocating for you, even in your wrong. I can say, I
Mhm.
can look back on that and say, okay, my mom showed me that when you mess up, you have to face the consequences. However, people don't get to pile on you for what happened. That was a life lesson for me. Yes, I had to deal with a consequence, but you don't get to keep dragging me
Mhm.
after I have paid the price for the consequence. And I'm in there for today. Final thought.
No. Boundaries. I'm gonna give a quick story and I'm done. I have two phones. I used to work for a guy. I used to work for this young guy and his dad. His dad called me, boom, boom, this is what I need you to do. Here's the address. And it was at a decent hour. The son would want to call at 10 o'clock at night. I told him 5:30, don't call me. He kept on. So I had to upgrade my phone. It just so happened that AT&T was having a buy one, get one free. So I did that. So as he continued to call 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, I cut the phone off because all my close friends and relatives had the other number. And I would tell them, if you can't get me on this old one, call me on this one.
Mm-hmm.
See, but he would violate the boundaries. So what I did, I just made it, put it in a position where he couldn't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, your boundaries are very important. When people insist on violating those boundaries, they are blatantly disrespecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to allow people to disrespect you?
Nope,
Okay.
not anymore. And some of us have probably said today, not anymore. This has been
Hmm.
another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. Again, we will be back tomorrow. We will not be on Friday or Monday, and we will resume on Tuesday. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be
Light.
light. Take care, everyone. Be well, and most importantly,